How do you do, Michael, to have your camera looking straight to you?
I'm just just lining it up with the video. Yeah.
Yeah, but I assume you have a monitor in front of you, no?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so I'm looking at the at the same video that you see online, and then over here is my second monitor that has all of the it's got OBS running, it's got YouTube, so I'm taking a look at the audio levels right now, making sure that everything's good there. So yeah, and then when I switch to code, you can see from the infinite view that I use this monitor for code as well. And then I just can't see anybody while I'm looking at the code, but that's okay.
No, because I remark when I look into the videos, when you see something, you always see your eyes, and when I'm looking at something, you always see my beautiful hair. Because my camera is on top of the monitor, so the camera is there, so it's looking like an angle. It's not looking from the middle of the monitor.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I actually am looking down at an angle here. The camera is just above the monitor, but I've got a smaller monitor for this.
Okay.
So keeps the camera closer to the center, and it also means that when I share code, I'm not sharing too many pixels.
Okay, yeah. I have square monitors, so they are quite high. Yeah, that's to show my beautiful hair.
Good morning, Caden. Or good evening.
Good morning. Yes, good evening. Yeah, I've heard that there's a severe heat wave in Europe.
Yes.
There is what in Europe?
A severe heat wave.
Heat wave.
Yeah, it's quite hot over here. I have the fan running, but the clim is not on yet. That's the next step. But it's about it's only 32 degrees Celsius right now inside. Outside 35, so still okay.
Still super hot.
Yeah, but it's summer over here, so but at your side as well.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty hot summer all over this year. So we're getting the extremes.
Yeah. A little bit nice heat. That's good for holiday because it's holiday time over here. And it just reminded me that today is National Day in Belgium.
Oh, okay. Is that is that to do with the founding of the country? Kind of like our Independence Day in the United States?
Yeah. That was, when was it? 1830, I think. I wasn't born at that time. Yeah.
Well, happy National Day.
Well,
happy National Day.
I live in France, so I'm a little bit between them. Here it's the 14th of July in France, so it was last week.
Oh.
So I'm more involved in the French National Day than the Belgian National Day.
Well,
Michael,
wish we could have wished you a happy French National Day last week, but belated.
I'm having troubles with the prior clause.
Okay.
Yeah, every time you hear me, I have no solutions. I only have troubles.
That is fine. That is what we're here for.
I thought let's have a look at the SQL that is generated, but I'm not so far yet that it really makes sense to me. Let me share that screen. Where is it? The virtual machine. No, GitHub. Yeah, here. So I made it smaller. You should be able to make it a little bit wider. Is that still?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's readable.
So if I go to the model, where is it here?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a small extension of what we had last time as a model. So I have a user Jan, then I added a username, so just a property,
Mm-hmm.
which is Jan with a lot of n's behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second was Jan with an Y, and then I have 3A and 3B.
Mm-hmm.
Change it in Jan and change it in Michael, and then had the final one, change these two in Jan again. So now, what I try to do is just get the latest Jan, the latest version,
Mm-hmm.
and that should be there because does not exist a username which has where prior versions point to it,
Right.
or where the next one point to the username.
Right. Yes.
But if I run this, I'm still getting all of them. So yeah, I always get all of them.
Interesting. So.
And if I don't use the result clause,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm getting first labels username and next with the following tuples here.
Oh, okay. So it's
this one, and then I get just the labels username only.
Huh. And that gives you just the one.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yep, that is a bug. Yeah. So yeah, what's happening with the feeds is that first feed is taking that not exist clause, basically inverting it and saying, yeah, I'm giving you all the usernames where there does exist a next, and here's the next. And so you can see there are 3 tuples that contain a next. And then the second feed is saying, now I'm going to actually apply the not exist clause properly, and there's only one tuple that does not have a next, and of course the only label in that tuple is username. So that feed is doing the right thing, and so I would expect that the results would give you the same answer, the same answer as the second feed. Yeah, I think you have found a bug.
But that's quite strange because you demonstrated very similar things.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to the previous videos and you demonstrated very similar things and it worked in your case.
Yeah.
Maybe it's caused by a different execution order or query order.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I doing something wrong here?
No.
Not exist next, which is a username, where the next has a relation to the prior.
No, I think that is the that's the only way that you could express that. Yeah, so I think what we'll need to do is dive into the SQL that gets generated and work backward from there. So there's a couple of ways we can do that. Probably the easiest way. So do you have this set up where you can use a debugger on it?
I can just use the VS Code debugger. That's all.
Yeah. Excuse me. So
then we should. Where is it? It's gonna be this. If we don't use the results, then we get streams from specifications. It's this one.
Yes. Yeah, so that one is working correctly. It's results from specification that is not working correctly. So I suspect that, yeah, so if you set a breakpoint on results from specification, and then start the debugging session. Excuse me. Excuse me. With the interactive results, that should get us there.
But wait, how can I? Because if I go here to my debugger, I just have to attach the debugger then.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the ways that I figured out to make this a little bit easier is to use the debugging terminal. Trying to remember exactly how to get to it. But I think actually if you hit Control Shift P, and that brings up the list of commands,
Yeah.
then you can do just type debug : and we'll see all of the debug commands.
What I could do, Michael, to make it simple, is share this with you. Live share.
Yeah.
Remember what we tried long ago? All right.
Yeah, let's give that a try.
And that's a long time ago.
Oh wow, that's a cool feature. Live shares through Visual Studio Code Live Share.
Yeah, we used it. We used it a long time ago, but oh, that's.
I remember there's a thing on Atom editor called Teletype, and that also used CRDT for sharing code.
Yeah, good. Yeah, live share we have discovered is not using CRDTs because it is not eventually consistent. Yeah, we have a video of the typing coming in at the wrong time, and then the documents get messed up.
Something very strange. It wants me to sign in, but it doesn't allow me to sign in. Wait, cancel. Start your first collaboration session. This is not the first time, but perhaps on this virtual machine it is. Why is this so difficult? So starting signed out. Yeah, I'm signed out. Okay. Launch, sign in. I can, if I would use GitHub, wants to sign in using GitHub. Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm going to see if I can set up the test on my side. That way we can just do it in the opposite direction.
Yeah. No idea what that one. No, that's not a correct one. Password's always a problem. Let's find out. Where was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Visual Studio Code, but it's already open. Allow an extension to open. What extension is that? Okay. You have not finished authorizing the extension to use. Would you? Yes. signed in now. Okay. Yeah. I see you.
Okay.
But you're mentioned as offline here.
All right. Let me make sure that I get signed in.
Audio calls, make read only. Invitation link. Let me send you this one. How was that? How was that working in text channels? Okay. I will just put it in the general channel.
Okay. Yeah, that should work.
It's a virtual machine anyway, so. Do you see the link in?
I do. And okay, it's launching in a browser, but I guess that's fine. All right.
Yes, you're there.
Okay. All right. I think we have it. And it's trying to load. It's trying to load Jinaga.js for some reason. I was expecting that it would start with index.js. Oh, okay. That's the name of the folder. All right. There we are. So I'm in. Okay. So next, what I want to do is see if see if I can start the debug session. Now the way that I've done this in the past, I actually might not be able to do it this way remotely, but yeah, if you go back up to the Control Shift P, just do the Control Shift P, type in debug, and then JavaScript debug terminal is right there. Yeah, so this opens up another debug terminal, but everything you start here, the debugger attaches to. So you can just type npm run interactive :results, and then it'll hit the breakpoint.
Results. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the debugger is immediately attached. All right. And so, yeah, it breaks here.
Okay, so now we can jump into results from specification. I'm going to switch back to my screen, see if it looks like I've got the debugger controls and everything. So
okay,
pretty cool. All right,
they made progress.
Yeah, and it says, okay, there you are. It is a little bit of a lag. So,
hello.
Yeah. Okay, you're following me now. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if I can get to where the call stack is. On my side, it says it's running. Okay, now it's in the pause section. So I've got the pause controls. I'm inside of results from specification, and it's loading. So I think it's trying to load a whole bunch of runtime state. Okay. Okay, so we... all right, so we've got... yeah, so it looks like we want to go back a bit. So, well, let's... I think we can go ahead and inspect what we've got here. So we've got the Sql Query Tree that should just have one query in it. So let's take a look at... I'm looking for this variable inside of the locals. I've got the specification, the start.
Just right click and we go.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was on my side. I'm looking at the variables in the debugger, and so I was not able to see the Sql Query Tree. Yeah, I just see specification start this, so I just see the parameters and then the return value. So we might have...
Yeah, here the same.
Yeah, we might have gone past the point where it's got that information. So let's see if I can... Well, I want to move back to this point. Can we change the... yeah.
You would like to have a breakpoint here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and set a breakpoint there and then restart things.
You restart or?
Let me go ahead and try it. Let me see if that is going to work. Okay, well, I've pushed the button a couple of times. Yeah, go ahead and try to restart. Let's see what happens at that point.
But I think he's still running here. Huh?
Yeah.
He's still.
Yeah, I thought that restart would kill this process,
No,
and then
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Control Shift F5. No, it's not stopping it. No.
Yeah, so you could also go down to the terminal window and hit Control C.
Yes.
Yeah, and now
you stopped.
Now you should be able to start it up again.
And again. So he's going to this one. I jump in here.
Yep.
Then but it didn't stop on that breakpoint.
Oh, okay. Well then hit step over. See if maybe it's...
Yeah, but it might be because that's an async procedure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, just hit continue and let it run to that breakpoint.
Let's run again.
Yeah, I don't think that it's actually reached that point of execution, so we can get rid of the first breakpoint and just let it hit the second one.
Yeah.
So just clear that breakpoint and then continue.
Oh, just like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Yep. Indeed.
All right. So what's just happened here is we've created an object that's that composes a bunch of results together, and we did that from the parsed specification object, and so now we are about to ask that composer for the actual SQL queries that that we need to run in order to give it the results that it's going to compose. So let's go ahead and step into get SQL queries and see what's happening in there.
You step in or I step in?
Oh yeah, let me see if I can. Yeah, it's going to be really slow from my side. It's still waiting to pull state over. So yeah, you go ahead and step in.
Just step in there. Okay. So
Yeah, so first of all, it's going to construct the result composer. We can go ahead and step out of this one and then do a step in again. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, stop. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the breakpoints jumping. Yeah, I'm not sure why it was on the constructor, but yeah. So let's take a closer look at the SQL Query Tree and see what we can find. Yeah, it's still loading the locals on my side, but
yeah. Wait. Let you give this one. Just close that one. Close that one. Make this one a little bit bigger.
Yeah. So we don't have any child queries. We just have the one main query, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then that one main query, we see that we've generated some SQL. So we'll want to take a closer look at that. The labels, we only have one label, and that is probably username.
Yep, that's username.
Okay. So yeah, now what we want to do is take a closer look at SQL and see exactly what it's doing.
Let's copy the value. Yeah. If I want to copy it to something else, you cannot see it again.
Yeah, you can go ahead and create a new window, or just Control N right here in Visual Studio Code, and then paste it in.
Is that working while I'm debugging?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So there's no where clause. It just completely skipped the existential condition.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The only where clause there is the one that that takes the parameter. But there should be another where clause in here. Where not exists, select one, and then it continues on with the next join.
Mm-hmm.
So it will skip that where clause if it thinks that it's unsatisfiable. If it thinks that there's no way that there could be a fact to make it true. And it's supposed to do that when it doesn't know the role or the type. But we saw in the other query, it clearly knew the role and the type. So those are both correct. So I think the issue came earlier. So I'm going to now take a look on my screen. I finally have some state loaded, and so I will do a screen share as well. And yes, and now you can choose whichever stream you want to watch. That's the nice thing about Discord. You can have multiple people sharing. Okay, so we already looked at the SQL Query Tree. The way that we got this SQL Query Tree is we ran the results from specification, and that created the composer. So now we can take a closer look at the composer. And why is that taking a long time?
My screen is open already.
Oh, okay.
So you
All
have
right.
Well,
let's see what.
Query.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop my my stream. Okay. Okay, so by this point, by this point it's already done that work. Yeah, so I'm looking for the point at which it's Okay, this would be telling, I think. Let's take a look at the role map and the fact types. So this tells us if it knows that it found the roles and the facts. So we've got a role that says from type ID 9, we can find a role named the size 2. Okay, we can find a role named user with the ID of 7 and a role named prior with the ID of 8. So it knows about both of those roles. So that's good. And then with fact types, we should see user and user. Yeah, I can already see even without expanding it. User and username. So those are fact types 8 and 9. So yeah, this is a map from username. It knows that it's got 2 roles. Okay, so that means that it knows that that there is a role called DWS username. It sees that it's in the database and actually has a role ID. So that means that it should not be considered unsatisfiable. But yet it's still skipping.
Michael, but why is it saying here role user is type 7 and here user is type 8? And prior points to a username, which is 8, and here username is 9.
Yeah, that 7 and 8, those aren't the type IDs. Those are the role IDs.
Okay, and so, these are the type IDs.
Yeah. In order to understand the role, it doesn't need to know the type that it points to. So that's not captured in the database, and so the role ID is just a filter for the edge. So you see an edge from this fact to that fact, and it has to know what role that edge plays, and so that role ID is is how it filters those edges. Okay. So the way that I think we will have to step into result SQL from specification. Let me drill through some code here. In fact, you can follow along through live share, and yeah, so we're inside of result SQL from specification, and so when we build description is the point at which we're going to be doing all of this work. So we've got our specification object coming in here, and we are going excuse me, we're going to walk through first the givens, and then right here we are going to walk through the matches. So let's create result description, and we're walking through the matches of that specification. So there's only one match, and that is the username. And so when we add edges for that match, then this is where we walk through the conditions, and we've got 2 conditions. One is a path, and we see that it is doing the path correctly because it's got that join, and the other one is the existential. So we're not taking the exists path because this is a not exist, so this is a negative existential condition. And so this right here is supposed to be adding a not exists condition based on that path. So this would be an interesting place to break. So if you want to, let's see, did it capture the breakpoint? Okay, yeah. Yeah, so if you want to Control C and then start the debugger again, we can see what it's doing from here.
Where is this one? No, we have this breakpoint. I can.
Yeah,
cancel.
you can clear that breakpoint, but I would have expected it to hit the other breakpoint earlier. So that might actually be the problem, is that it's not coming down this path. Why is that? Let's set a breakpoint earlier on. So so I set a breakpoint at the beginning of the add edges method. So yeah. Now I see the breakpoints aren't filled in, so I'm wondering if
inbound breakpoint.
Yeah. So maybe what we can do is yeah, if we set a breakpoint in index, let's see, this is Postgres store. Okay, it's able to keep a breakpoint inside of Postgres store. Okay, let's try something real quick just to rule it out. So flip back to the regular bash shell. In fact, you can Control C to exit this one, and then do an npm run build.
This one, go to the bash npm build.
Yeah, you're typing on top of a
npm run.
Yeah, npm run build. Yeah, seeing that it didn't hold some breakpoints, but it held some others, is making me think that maybe the source code is out of sync with the with what it's trying to execute. And
Okay,
so now go ahead and do the
the
npm run interactive results. Yeah, and let's see if we get anything better.
Okay, it stops here again.
Yeah, so you can continue. Okay, now it is stopping here, but let's go ahead and continue both of these and just see what the results look like, because it might be that excuse me, that you were just using an old source code. And there we go. We only have the one result. That was the problem. Didn't need to go through the debugging exercise, but yeah, at least now you know a little bit more about how to attach the debugger and.
Yeah. But so there was just a new version of the source code?
Yeah, I think so. So I think that that you pulled my changes, but you didn't do a build while you were making your changes in index.js. So yeah, the index.js isn't compiled. That's just run directly. But yeah, all the other stuff is compiled. So
okay,
yeah.
So it was just using the old Jinaga.js.
Yep.
Okay, so if we stop this one, if I go back here, run interactive. Now, what am I getting then? So I'm getting the two labels with all these tuples, and I'm getting just one label.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
why is it giving me one label here, and before that is giving me all these facts
Mm-hmm.
that corresponds to the situation without the not exist.
Yeah. So the first feed is evidence for usernames that should not appear in the results. So yeah, it's completing a bunch of tuples that are consistent with the username belonging to that user and next pointing to that username. And so if you if your node knew about that username but didn't know that it had been superseded, then this would be the evidence to show you, nope, that's not the correct username anymore.
Okay. That were actually the tombstones.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and so corresponding to this one, we have the second label with just the tuples, the last one, in fact.
Right. Right. Yeah. So this one has applied the negative existential condition, and so it doesn't have a a next fact within that tuple because such facts don't exist.
Yeah. So if I say results, it only gives me the last one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no bug in the code. It was only me who was generating trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now that I think through that, it makes perfect sense because I implemented the feeds first, and then I went back and made the results work. But I did that piece at a time, rather than just say, "Hey, take the whole thing and make it work." And so I didn't do the negative existential queries right off the bat, and so that's the version of the code that you were looking at. So yeah, now you should be able to take that username.firstname, and that can now be the only thing after the arrow.
What do you mean? Because it's
so after the arrow, you've got you're opening an object and saying call me equal.
Yeah.
But now you can get rid of the object and just say arrow username.firstname.
Oh, okay. Without like this.
Yep. Oh. Well. Okay, maybe not.
Perhaps I don't have the latest version.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something that I made work this week. So. Oh, you're getting the dependabot branch too. Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, I guess you would.
Where were we here? Because I was changing. I'm here. It was this one. Wait, this one was your latest one, I think.
Yes. Yes.
If I just check out that one. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
I do.
So you've got some changes that you would need to do something with.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna commit it now. What did I? Yeah, okay. I will try it out. Yeah. After that, I don't find anything back. I can commit, I can amend, I can and after that it's a mess.
Yeah.
I recommend stash your changes and apply it back after you check out.
I know, Caden, but I tried it a few times, and every time I'm lost, and then I'm searching. So I keep it simple.
Okay.
Once I'm ready, I commit, and then I switch branches. So the stashing, it seems to work with everybody except with me. So I've accepted that. In meanwhile, I say, okay, stash is very good for others, but not for me.
Yeah, I'm actually in the habit myself of creating a new branch, committing to that branch, rather than doing a stash. That way, it shows up in my tree. I don't have to go back to stashes, but and then that also keeps the association with the parent commit, versus a stash. When you pop the stash, it's going to try to replay it wherever you happen to be. So yeah, I like it to be a little bit more explicit myself.
So you would make a new branch in this case, committed to the new branch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can rebase later.
Yeah.
And it's
visible on your tree.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I will try that new syntax. Anyway, it is saved, so that's okay.
Very good. All right. Well, then I'm going to do a quick share here. I suppose I can leave that live sharing session and yeah, go back to this one. Okay.
Wait, I still have that screen. Stop streaming that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, in service of being able to use this as the as the API, the next thing that the client has to do is to specify the parameters, so semester and user, and so I started making this syntax work. So this is almost excuse me, yeah, almost JavaScript. I'm not going to let you just run JavaScript inside of the API though. So you can use let to define a variable, and now here you give it the type. So that's one difference from JavaScript, and it's not the TypeScript type either. This is the Jinaga type. And then you can define, you can use a name, or you can use a JavaScript object, or you can refer to other facts as predecessors. So to keep things simple and to make sure that you declare types at each level, I don't allow nesting. So you can't just simply take this and put it inside of here and say this is from this particular Jinaga user, because since I've put the type out here, I've taken the type out of the JavaScript object. So it's not exactly the same as if you were just using Jinaga.js. So so we build up here the creator, then the company is the company where name is equal to improving, and it's from this creator, and then build up semester, which is has the field name fall 2021 and the predecessor company. So just like JavaScript, I'm allowing you to short circuit if the name of the field is the same as the name of the variable. So that would be the same as company : company. And so that builds up some Jinaga facts, where now I can pass semester in here and I can pass user in there. For user, I'm just using the predefined variable me, which will be the user who is logged in when you're making this request. So then you can have your authorization and your authentication on your Jinaga endpoint. Just pass in let user equal me, and then start querying for all your stuff. And that would be basically acting as if you were a client application and just seeing the results. So now with this, then it's running all that stuff. If I wanted to go to spring 2021, then I have empty results. But if I oh, actually, I don't think I have it running. I was going to bring up the oh goodness, what happened there? Oh, that's interesting. Let's see if I can just get the application started real quick, and then we can.
Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, but in this way, you create your facts. Is it saving the facts to the database?
These facts are not saved to the database. These are just declared in memory so that they can be used as parameters. So if those facts don't actually even exist in the database, then this is just going to return an empty set because there's nothing related to those facts.
Okay.
And so yeah, I am thinking that I want another endpoint that is this syntax, but with the intent of saving those to the database. So it might actually be just exactly this syntax, no other statement, and then it's like, okay, everything you declare here gets saved. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. This is going to be in WSL. That's the one. All right. So if you run dev, okay. So now I should be able to, oh, address in use. So are you saying that it's already running? It might actually already be running on the, yeah. So let's go into registration. Let's log in. And so now if I go to fall 2021, we see that data. Let's go to, yeah, spring 2022. So spring 2022, nothing there. And, oh, this isn't the user that can add. Okay. I was trying to demonstrate adding data and then seeing the change, but this is not the user that has that access. Okay, well, this would have been a really awesome demo, but it's going to take a little while to get set up for the right user. But yeah, so the idea is that now you should be able to declare your variables, and then use those as givens inside of your specification, and get back a projection of the data that's in your database, and then couple this with the other endpoint that lets you do just this, but then it saves all that data to the database, and now you've got a complete SSMS experience where you can point a client like Postman at those two endpoints. Yeah, I could ship you a Postman collection where I say, here, you run this one, and it's going to generate some data in your database, and then run this other Postman collection, and it's going to query it back. And now you can go crazy and change. You change whatever the data is, put new data in, query that data back, and that way we can collaborate on a model before we write any JavaScript or .NET code.
Yeah, that sounds very convenient.
Yep, and I think I want to package that as a Docker container. So now I can just say, all right, here's the Postman collection, and here is a command, just Docker run, and it will spin up a container that has Postgres and a Jinaga server already running in it, and you can just start hitting it and use these endpoints.
But actually, saving to the database, we could do with j.fact.
Yes. So I think that is I think that's the next step in this interaction. So I'm thinking about introducing somebody brand new to Jinaga.
Okay.
And so with this Postman collection and this Docker container, they don't have to know how to do a Jinaga server.create. They can. That's not a difficult step, but that is now the next step, and so you've already seen some success, and now you go to the next step, and you can start writing code that creates the facts. So I foresee this being a way now that that I can get a whole team together to collaborate on building an application. So bring on a new team member and say, hey, welcome to the team. We've started working on a model, and here's a Postman collection that seeds your database with part of that model. So here, play with this, play with the query, understand it, and now your job is to write a React component. So all you need is and I do need to create React app working with this too, so you can just complete that whole experience. So you just need to create React app. Now you've got a host that can contain your React component, and then you can use this tool to push some data into your database, so you can see it in your component, and then work with your component, have that save facts back to the database, and you can then run a query to see your results. And so now you're completely isolated from the rest of the application. You're just working on this one component. Get it to display the results, to save new facts, and you say, okay, here it is. And then I take that and say, all right, somebody else has worked on that component, and that component, and that component, and the models all fit together. And then I just put them all into one host, and it renders the full application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed, it would be easier this way too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Michael, I finally read through to the chapter 5 of the book.
Oh, okay.
And
So you made it through chapter 4. All right, yeah. Chapter 4 is definitely one that induces a lot of questions. But yeah, so what have you got so far?
So basically, can I say every Jinaga client and server is a node that contains historical model CRDT?
Yes, I think that would be accurate. Every client, every server is its own self-contained node. It has its own replica, and it represents an instance of the CRDT. Yeah.
Okay. So how the state-based CRDT shares the update? Is it by broadcasting or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is I'm trying to remember the difference between state-based and operation-based. But this is a state-based CRDT. Yeah, because the operation needs to be commutative. Whereas with this being state-based, then when it shares updates, that's basically when it posts facts to its peers. So if this is a client, for example, running maybe on your cell phone, then when it calls the server and posts facts, that's when it's sharing the updates.
So is it broadcasting or just sent to a certain node?
It is sending to certain nodes, and so in general, it could be a broadcast. The Jinaga solution is more constrained than that, so it is sending specifically to the nodes that you've configured. And then within that, it's only sending the things that the node is interested in. Well, in the case of like a mobile app talking to the server, it's going to send everything. But when the the mobile app connects to the server and pulls facts down, that's where it's going to express interest. And so the specification language is how it expresses interest, and it says, I'm interested in any fact that matches this specification. And then the server responds with just that subset of the graph.
Okay. And so, based on the example in the book, the context system example, if two nodes create a context modification on the same property like contact name, it causes conflict on margin, right?
Yeah, more accurately, it is recognized as a concurrent pair of facts. It's a concurrent edit, and the reason that I say that it doesn't cause a conflict is this is conflict free. It's CRDTs. So
yes.
So all nodes do reach a consistent state. It's just that consistent state contains concurrent edits.
So both will be contained in the model?
Yes.
Both edits?
Yes, exactly.
So if we query, what do we get?
Yeah, every query returns multiple results. There's no way that you can write a query that returns a single result. And so when you run that query and you say, I want to get the current name of this customer, you're going to get back an array which contains all of the candidate current names. So all of the names that have not been superseded.
Oh. So can we add another rule to solve this kind of multiple names, like the longer one wins?
Yeah, that gets kind of tricky when you try to add those rules because now you're stepping outside of what you can verify using eventual consistency. So now it's very difficult for you to know that the most recent name is most recent for everybody. In fact, if you just think about a disconnected client, then you are guaranteed to have inconsistencies between two different disconnected clients. So if somebody edits the username, then that edit occurred at that particular time for them, and they don't see the other edit until later. So that means that on the other side, you're going to see them in the opposite direction, in the opposite order. So if the last one wins, then both of those clients see the other edit, not their own. And so, you're going to see an inconsistent state. The consistent state is that both edits occurred, that there are two edits. So you can't really use a clock to disambiguate because Jinaga in particular and historical modeling in general does not imply any kind of clock. If you were to add a clock to the system, then you could figure that out. But then everybody would have to synchronize their clocks, and you would no longer have that full 100% autonomy to work offline. And so the way that I usually solve that problem is the way that Git solves it. If I work on some code and I check it into my branch, and in fact we just saw this here. Jan worked on some code, he added in his branch. Both of those branches are on his machine, and he can see both of those edits, and then he can decide what to do with them. Once he records that decision, he records that as a new fact, a new commit that points back to both of them. So that could be a new rebase commit that brings in his changes and is has as its predecessor my changes, or it could be a merge commit that has two predecessors.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in the case of an application, you could just show the end user two names. Every edit box actually allows multiple inputs, and then if they want to edit the name, they could pick one of the two and say this is the correct one and hit save, or they could just clear those both out, type in what they think is the correct one, and hit save. And in either case, they're creating a new fact that refers back to all of those candidates, and has its own value. And so that, at least for them, for that time, brings the graph down to having just one leaf. But that doesn't guarantee that somebody else isn't also doing a concurrent edit at that time. And so you still may get back to the point where you've got multiple leaves in your graph again. We're not trying to solve the problem everywhere all at once. Instead, let's solve the problem locally and let those changes propagate in a way that it is eventually consistent.
Good. So yeah, that's my problem solved.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, that is the canonical example. That is, you get that solution and that set of consequences, and now that's the gateway. That's how you enter into now being able to use this system to solve a whole class of problems, and to recognize which problems can be solved this way and which problems cannot.
Yeah, it's more like not forcing every problem to be solved by the certain rules.
Yeah, that's my favorite feature of it. People can say there's no silver bullet, and I say, yeah, I know. I'll tell you exactly which targets this bullet will miss.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about math. It tells you the boundary conditions. You can only prove the theorem if you assume certain constraints, and therefore you can reason that anything outside of that constraints is not covered by this theorem. May or may not be true. Well, in this case, I can tell you it's not true. But yeah, Girdle's incompleteness theorem. There are some statements that are true that you cannot prove within the system. In this case, I can tell you pretty clearly that if the problem you're trying to solve requires that a query return only one result, then this won't solve it. But yeah, that's outside the system.
Yeah, I recognize the beauty of math more and more throughout these years. That's pretty a nice thing about the math.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how we can know things. It's how we can have nice things.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I need to get to my team. Starting a new project this week, so yeah, all sorts of fun stuff, doing authorization, authentication. So So yeah, thinking back
Jinaga.
to no, not with Jinaga, but no. Yeah, still haven't been able to use Jinaga itself on a client project, but yeah, that day is coming, and with these with this this type of interaction that we are building right now, that's going to be a pretty interesting way to run a project, I think. So I'm looking forward to running that experiment.
Okay. Okay, Michael. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan.
See you
Thank you.
next week.
Thanks, Caden. Yes, indeed. Next week.
Okay. Caden, bye-bye.
Bye bye.